Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving deep into something that honestly feels pretty universal. Whether you're running a business or just feel like you're drowning in to-dos, it's about reclaiming, well, your time and your energy. We're pulling insights from Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time. And the mission here, it's to really pull out the practical stuff, the strategies, the mindset shifts that let you grow, maybe your business, maybe just your impact, without hitting that wall, without burning out, so you can actually live a full, joyful life, like now, not just dreaming about some far-off retirement.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, is that this isn't just your standard business advice. It's framed as a really personal journey. It starts with the author's own story, which is, frankly, pretty surprising. Kind of chaotic, actually. It just underscores that, understanding yourself is maybe just as critical as understanding the balance sheet.
Absolutely. That origin story is quite something. I mean, imagine this. Young Dan Martell shoplifting in and out of group homes, even gets booted from high school. Sounds like a rough start, right? But then this moment in jail, solitary confinement. And a guard, Brian, asks him, Dan, why are you here? And then he says something like, I think you're meant for something else, which is just completely different from what Dan was used to hearing.
And if we zoom out a bit, the bigger picture is how Martell, looking back, saw that those things people called troublemaking, his creativity, his willingness to take risks, how he communicated, even handling chaos, those were actually entrepreneurial skills. They were just, pointed the wrong way. He finds programming at this place called Portage, and suddenly things start to click. He starts his first real businesses, Maritime Vacation and Be Host. But even with some success, his personal life just tanks because he's living that GSD get shit done best mentality. We've all been there, right? Working 15, even 18-hour days. And his first two companies, they failed miserably. It really shows that common struggle for entrepreneurs, doesn't it? That drive for success often just chews up your personal well-being, leads straight to burnout. It's not just his story, it's kind of universal.
It really is. And that leads us right into the core problem Martell tackles, that GSD mentality. It's a trap. I mean, sure, hard work gets you somewhere. But eventually you hit a ceiling because, well, you're just one person. You only have so much time. He tells the story about Stuart, a successful software founder, working 14-hour days, 7 days a week. It got so bad he was having panic attacks. Ended up bedridden at 34 after this nightmare trip to Disneyland. He was efficiently busy, sure, but on totally the wrong things.
Right, and that raises a really important question. Why do so many entrepreneurs hit this wall? Martell calls it the pain line. It's this idea that we as entrepreneurs will subconsciously sabotage or stall or maybe even sell the business before we let it grow into something that feels more painful. When you hit that pain line, growth stops. And it often shows up in three ways. First, you might sell, but you're selling out of desperation, right? Not on your terms. Second, you could sabotage. Subconsciously making bad calls, launching random new products, overhauling the website again, firing key people, just dragging your feet on big decisions. These things pull the business back to a size that feels, well, manageable, less painful. And third, you might just stall, consciously decide not to grow. But Martell says, and this is kind of harsh but true, deciding not to grow is really deciding to slowly die. It affects your customers, sure, but also your employees. They want growth too. So think about this for yourself. Have you ever felt that dread, that exhaustion? Do you recognize any of those behaviors, selling, sabotaging, stalling in your own journey or maybe in others you've seen?
Wow, that's a powerful way to frame it. It really lays bare the cost of just being busy for busy's sake. So, okay, what's the way out? Martell's core idea is the buyback principle. And this isn't just about like delegating random stuff. It's recognizing that every task you don't love doing, especially the low value ones, they're holding you back from your real impact. It's about strategically reinvesting your resources, time, money, energy to buy back your time so you can do what actually lights you up and makes your business thrive. Remember Stuart? The guy with the panic attacks, he apparently just devoured Martell's stuff, realized, in his words, the lunacy of his approach. Yeah, he started filming himself doing tasks, the camcorder method, we'll touch on that later. Within 2 months, he freed up over 30 hours a week, went from 11-hour days down to 6. And get this, his company's revenue tripled. And the panic attacks, gone.
That transformation really shows the buyback loop in action. It's simple, really, an infinite cycle. Audit, transfer, fill. First, you audit. What tasks do you hate doing? What's easy and cheap to give to someone else? Second, transfer. Who on your team can do it? Or who could you hire, maybe even part-time, to take it over? And third, fill. Now that you have that time back, what tasks do you love? What can immediately bring more value, more money to your company? Then you just repeat, audit, transfer, fill, over and over. You see this pattern actually in lots of successful people. Tom Clancy, the writer, He eventually had other writers producing books under his name. That freed him up to become a film producer, much more lucrative. He created his own buyback loop. Or think about Warren Buffett. What does he do? Mostly reads and looks for the next investment. He started as a salesman, but kept transferring tasks to upgrade how he spent his time. So for you listening, what's just one task, maybe something small, you could audit and transfer this week, just to start that buyback loop?
That's the key, right? Finding what you should be doing, finding your own genius zone. Gay Hendricks talks about this in The Big Leap. Those few things where you use your unique talents, you actually gain energy doing them, and bonus, the market rewards you for it. Martell uses this great analogy. Math class or art class. Are you spending your day in tasks that feel like that math class you hated, draining? Or are you in your art class, energizing? It's a simple way to think about how you feel doing different tasks.
Yeah, and that connects straight to the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
But Martell argues for entrepreneurs, it's often more like 955, meaning maybe only 5% of what you do drives 95% of the results. So being efficiently busy on the wrong tasks, that's not just inefficient, it's incredibly costly.
Yeah.
You're doing things you're not great at, things you don't enjoy. It drains your energy, limits your real impact. The power here is realizing we often trap ourselves doing things we can do but shouldn't, when the real leverage, and honestly the joy, is in fiercely protecting that time for what truly matters.
Okay, so how do we figure out where our time and energy are actually going? To help with that, Martell gives us the DIIP matrix. It's a really clever framework. It helps you categorize all your tasks based on two things: how much money they make you and how much energy they either give you or drain from you. So first up, you've got the delegation quadrant. These are the tasks that bring in low money and they drain your energy. Think of Miguel, this real estate software CEO Martell mentions. He was drowning in customer support tickets. He was good at solving problems fast, but it just pulled him into these low-value tasks constantly, this quadrant. This is your prime target for that initial audit, transfer, fill, get rid of this stuff first.
Exactly. Then you have the replacement quadrant. Okay, these tasks make you more money, maybe good money, but they still drain your energy. You might even be really good at them, but they don't light you up. The example given is a world-class wedding photographer doing their own invoicing. Sure, it needs doing, they can do it well, but is that where their genius lies? Probably not. It's important to see these are still tasks you eventually want to offload, even if they feel important right now.
Right. Next, the investment quadrant. These are things that might bring in less money, at least right away, but they give you energy. This is like your soul food, hobbies, biking, yoga, whatever, time with family, friends, spiritual practices, or even personal and professional development like reading, getting coaching. It also includes things like industry collaborations, maybe doing a podcast interview like this or co-authoring something. It builds your brand for the future. These things nourish you, make you more creative, a better leader.
And finally, the bullseye, the production quadrant. This is your genius zone. This is where you excel, you love the work, and it makes the most money. Martell uses Oprah Winfrey as a fantastic example. Think about her shift from news reporter, where she felt she was exploiting people, disliked the job, made less money and saw it, to talk show host, where she could be herself, connect with people, tell stories. That was her production quadrant. And, well, she became a billionaire. Apparently, her billionaire's day schedule has only about 2 hours on traditional business stuff. The rest: health, discovery, personal growth. And here's what's fascinating. Oprah's secret, according to Martell. Successful people aren't doing what they love because they're rich. They're rich because they've learned to do what they love and only what they love. That just completely flips the script on that whole grind now, live later idea, doesn't it?
It really does. A profound shift. Okay, so practically speaking, how do we actually audit and transfer these tasks? How do we start living that way? Martell has this great rule. 80% done by someone else is 100% freaking awesome. Love that. You don't need perfection from others. You need your freedom. Lowering your expectations actually empowers you and them. He also introduces the buyback rate. This is basically your effective hourly rate for tasks you should be outsourcing. Let's say you make $200,000 a year. Your time is worth roughly $100 an hour. Your buyback rate, which Martell suggests is a fourth of that, is $25 an hour. So if you're doing something you could pay someone $25 an hour to, you're actually costing your company money, right? Your own money and potential. Even if you make, say, $50,000 a year, your buyback rate is still about $6.25 an hour. You can still find ways to free up time at that rate. Think about Keith and Martin in the book that got sales calls offloaded on commission only for free. Interns, virtual assistants, great options.
But to figure out what exactly to transfer, you need the time and energy audit. This means for about 2 weeks, you track your time every 15 minutes, and you color code it. Red for tasks that drain your energy, green for tasks that energize you. Some people, like Miranda in the book, see patterns after just a few days, and make changes immediately. Others, like Dana, who was making like $2,500 an hour, finally stopped checking his own email, not just because of the time, but because he realized the massive energy drain it was. He literally deleted email apps off his phone. So take a second. Think about one task you just dread doing. How much is it really costing you? Not just in time, but in energy, in lost opportunity. What's your buyback rate? What could you realistically offload, maybe even today?
Okay, now let's dig into something a bit more subtle. These subconscious forces that can really undermine entrepreneurs. Martell talks about the entrepreneur's chaos addiction. It's kind of the dark side of our strengths, right? If you grew up in chaos, you might actually excel in uncertainty. But weirdly, calm can feel strange, uncomfortable. He tells a story about himself almost jumping in to save the day on a business deal. His partner Matt had to stop him. Matt pointed out, hey, it wasn't the team messing up. It was Dan's own impatience, his need for that chaotic energy.
Yeah, and connecting this to the bigger picture, this addiction often shows up as what Martell calls hand grenades. These are sudden, self-sabotaging decisions, taking unplanned vacations right before a launch, firing key people without a real plan, overhauling the website. Again, these things create a fire, and then the entrepreneur gets to rush in and put it out, back in their familiar, comfortable firefighter role.
What's really revealing about these assassins, as he calls them, is how they often connect to our deepest fears or maybe past conditioning. They're not just bad habits. They're like unconscious safety mechanisms that end up limiting us.
Exactly, and these hand grenades are thrown by the 5-time assassins Martell identifies. These are the ways chaos addiction sabotages success. First, the staller. This person hesitates on big opportunities. Like Sahid, who took 3 weeks to reply to an email that could have tripled his business reach. Subconsciously, the staller is thinking, I might fail, or maybe this growth is going to suck the life out of me. Then you've got the speed demon. Makes really fast but often poor decisions. Hires the first candidate they interview. Chooses the first software platform they see. This leads to repeating mistakes. And they think, every employee sucks, or no software ever works right. Charles hiring his brother-in-law as CMO without really vetting him. Classic speed demon move driven by unconscious bias.
Next, the supervisor. This is the micromanager. Or the person who delegates task, then jumps back in and takes it over. Like Daryl, the bike shop owner. He wouldn't let his mechanics handle things. He'd jump in front of them to greet customers, take over repairs. It just screamed, I don't trust you.
Then there's the saver. This person hates spending money, especially on growth. They hoard cash like a nest egg. Kyle, for example, wouldn't spend $10,000 on a crucial curriculum his business needed, but he'd ask his coach for a $20 book recommendation instead. It's not about being frugal. It's a fear of investing in the future.
And finally, the self-medicator. Turns to food, alcohol, shopping, whatever, to either reward success or numb the pain of failure. Martell shares his own story of over-celebrating with food and getting food poisoning. And Tom, whose drinking problem was holding him back until he faced it head-on and did the 75 Hard program. So, looking at that list, which of those time assassins maybe sounds a little familiar to you listening? How might that need for control or that secret need for a fire to fight be holding you back? Okay, so you've diagnosed your time with the DRIP matrix. You understand these potential assassins. How do you systematically get tasks off your plate and actually move forward? Martell gives us the replacement ladder. It's a structured way to transfer tasks rung by rung so you don't get stuck in that replacement quadrant doing important stuff that still drains you. Each rung has 3 parts. The key hire you need for that level, the typical feeling you have when stuck there, like stuck, stalled, frustrated, and the ownership, the responsibilities that absolutely must be transferred off your plate.
And it's really crucial to understand, even if you have people on staff, if there isn't one person clearly responsible for the tasks on a specific rung, then you still own the outcomes. You can't really move up. Martell advises climbing this ladder in order, pretty much regardless of your company size. It's all about strategically letting go of control.
Right. So, rung 1, administration. Key hire, administrative assistant. The feeling here is often just stuck. Ownership that needs to transfer. Your inbox and your calendar, all of it. My brother Pierre learned this the hard way. Hired an assistant, but didn't give up full control of email and calendar at first. Once he did, game changer.
Rung 2, delivery. Key hire, head of delivery. Feeling, stalled. Ownership, customer onboarding, product service delivery, support. This one's often tough emotionally because you're probably good at it. This is where Martell introduces the 10-80-10 rule. You do the initial 10%, set the vision, the strategy. You delegate the middle 80%, the actual execution. Then you come back for the final 10% review, tweak, approve. Think Elon Musk on engineering or Steve Jobs on design. They set the direction, but trusted others to do the bulk of the work. It's about letting go of how it gets done.
Okay. Rung 3. Marketing. Key hire. Head of marketing. Feeling frustrated. Ownership. Lead generation. Brand building. Again, you might be great at this, but is it your highest value? Does it energize you the most? Maybe not. Time to transfer.
Rung 4, sales. Key hire. Head of sales. Feeling overwhelmed. Ownership. Sales calls. Follow-up. Closing deals. Now, most entrepreneurs think they're the best salesperson for their own company. And maybe they are, initially. But Martell tells this great story about hiring Michael. He assumed Michael would handle maybe half the calls, close a third as well. Turns out, Michael handled more calls in less time and actually outsold Martell. That really challenges that belief, doesn't it? That you have to be the one doing the selling. It shows how letting go can actually lead to more growth.
Totally. And finally, rung 5. Leadership. Key hires here are leaders at all levels. Feeling, flow, ownership. Overall strategy, leading the leaders. This is where other capable people are running the day-to-day and you're focused on the big picture. The next big idea may be collaboration. The really critical insight across this whole ladder is that climbing it means giving up tasks you might be really good at but that just aren't in your production quadrant. The goal is to reach that feeling of flow where the company makes money, things run smoothly without your constant direct day-to-day involvement. That frees you up for the truly high-level stuff. So for you listening, where are you on that replacement ladder right now? What's the next rung look like? And what specific tasks need to be transferred for you to move up?
All right, let's get into some specific tools to help climb that ladder and build operational excellence. First, cloning yourself with an administrative assistant. We said this is rung 1, the foundation. Martell shares this detail about Richard Branson's assistant, Hannah. She acts as his block and tackle, managing his life based on his rules, shielding him from interruptions.
The free yourself jumpstart, as Martell calls it, means your assistant must manage all your calendar and all your email, no exceptions. My brother Pierre, again, he didn't really get the big deal until he fully implemented this, using an email GPS system to route emails automatically without him seeing most of them.
Yeah, the benefits are huge. An assistant doesn't have your emotional baggage, right? So they can often say no more easily to things you might feel obligated to do. You stop being the bottleneck for everything. And they prevent things from falling through the cracks, the infamous ball dropping. It's incredibly liberating.
Next tool, building playbooks. Think standard operating procedures, SOPs. Think about McDonald's and their speedy service system. That level of documentation is what allowed Ray Kroc to scale an empire. Predictability, efficiency. A playbook basically transports tested knowledge. It says, do X this way and Y will happen. Martell breaks down the 4 C's of a good playbook. Camcorder method, just record yourself doing the task, like Peter the plumber recording his billing process. Apparently, this is the most popular hack. Then, course documenting the steps clearly. Cadence, how often is this task done? And checklist, key verification points. But here's the kicker, the crucial insight. You don't have to create all these playbooks yourself. The person you're transferring the task to, they watch a recording, they document the process, they create the playbook. Genius. So think about that one task you dread. Could you just hit record next time you do it? And then hand that recording off to someone else to turn into a playbook.
Absolutely. And this idea of documenting processes ties into Martell's concept of designing your perfect week.
Yeah.
This isn't just a schedule. It's a proactive, templatized plan for your week. Like an airport's flight schedule, everything has its place. It aims to eliminate wasted buffer time between tasks and optimize for your energy levels. You do your deep thinking when you're sharpest, maybe delegate easier tasks when your energy dips. It also encourages using NET time, no extra time, using commutes for podcasts, waiting time for reading, etc.
Yeah, and a huge part of that perfect week is task batching, scheduling similar types of tasks together, like maybe all your sales calls are on Wednesday afternoon, all your content creation is Friday morning. This helps you get into a state of flow, be more efficient. It also lets you kind of compartmentalize tasks you don't love, get them done in one block, then they're off your mind for the rest of the week.
Exactly. When you plan your week proactively like this, you regain control. You know what your priorities are. So when unexpected things pop up, opportunities demands you know exactly what you'd be saying no to if you say yes to the new thing. It frees up so much mental space for actual creativity.
Okay, finally for this section, Martell gives 4 really powerful time hacks you can use pretty much immediately. First, the $50 magic pill. Empower every single person on your team to spend a small amount, maybe $50, maybe $500, depends on your business, to solve a problem without asking permission. Just fix it. Second, sync meetings with repeat agenda. Short, structured, daily or weekly check-ins with key people, like Branson and his assistant Hannah. Address exceptions, build context over time, reduce those constant one-off interruptions. Third, a clear definition of done, DOD, for tasks. What does done actually look like? Include facts, metrics, feelings, how should the customer or team feel, and functionality, what should this task enable? Clarity prevents rework. And fourth, the 1.3.1 rule. When someone brings you a problem, they need to come prepared. Define the one specific problem, research and propose 3 viable solutions, and make 1 recommendation. This stops people from just dumping problems on your lap, that upward delegation.
And what's really fascinating here, the underlying requirement for all these hacks to work. You have to destroy the ego. You have to give up being the hero, the one with all the answers. When you do that, it allows for real empowerment. People trust themselves. It encourages exploration, creative thinking spreads. It might even lead to equity distribution, giving people real buy-in. And ultimately, it drives effective productivity across the whole organization. It's a fundamental shift away from ego-driven leadership.
That's a massive shift. And it leads right into leadership itself. Martell draws a sharp contrast between transactional management and transformational leadership. The common trap, transactional. He calls it tell, check, next. Tell people what to do, check their work, tell them the next thing. This creates a tell, check, next ceiling. Everyone keeps coming back to you for answers. You become the ultimate bottleneck.
Right. Transformational leadership flips that. Instead of tell, check, next, it's tell, outcome, measure, coach. It reminds me of that Steve Jobs quote, it doesn't make sense to hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they can tell us what to do. You tell the outcome. You set the end result. I need error-free blog posts published weekly, not go spell check that blog post. You empower your team to figure out the how.
Then you measure. Give them key metrics, maybe just one number that really shows success for their role. Like Evan, the dealership manager focusing on absorption rate, or Janelle, the hotel manager tracking average daily rate. These clear numbers ignite performance without you having to micromanage the process.
And finally, you coach. You don't jump in constantly, but you step in at pivotal moments. Martell suggests using the KOACH framework here. Focus on core issues, discuss the needed change, and use actual stories or examples. It's not about grabbing the steering wheel, it's about small adjustments. Like a sports coach helping a great athlete refine their technique, you're building people who build the business.
And underpinning all of this transformational leadership, a healthy culture is something Martell calls the critical F word, feedback. He shares a really cringeworthy story about himself with an employee named Jacob. He complained about Jacob to someone else instead of talking to Jacob directly. Ouch. And an even more painful one with Alexis, who he let go after 6 months of underperformance, only to realize he'd never actually given her clear, direct feedback on where she was falling short. The consequence. A lack of honest, two-way feedback is like a culture cancer. It kills productivity, stalls growth, and makes good people quit. We see this amplified in discussions around the Great Resignation. People aren't just leaving jobs, they're seeking meaning and better communication.
Absolutely. Kim Scott's work on radical candor really speaks to this, the need for feedback that is both direct and caring. Encouraging healthy dissent so you hear about problems in the meeting room, not when they blow up in the market. Martell offers a practical tool for this from Matt Mokare, the clear framework for clearing conversations. It's a structure for giving and receiving feedback. Create a warm environment. Start with positive feedback. Lead them to offering critical feedback. Ask them first if they have any for you. Empathize, listen fully without interrupting or getting defensive. Ask if there's more often the first piece of feedback isn't the only one. And reject or accept the feedback. If you accept it, commit to a specific change. If you reject it, explain why respectfully. Martell talks about how Michael's team used this to give him feedback on his communication style, and apparently he improved dramatically almost overnight just by listening and committing. So ask yourself, are you maybe a human ticking time bomb when it comes to issues? Do things faster. How could you proactively invite feedback from your team, maybe this week, using a framework like CLEAR?
Okay, so we're climbing the ladder, building systems, fostering feedback. This whole journey of buying back time, it really culminates in something bigger, right? An aspirational vision, Martell calls it. Dream big, achieve bigger. Entrepreneurs, he argues, need a huge inspirational picture to pull them forward. He tells the story of Lane Merrifield, the founder of Club Penguin. Lane had this dream of creating a safe online world for kids. He didn't know exactly how he'd do it initially, but that big vision drove him. He eventually sold Club Penguin to Disney for $350 million. He succeeded because he found what lit him up, that big dream.
Dreaming big isn't just fluff. It drives innovation. It's contagious, it inspires your team, it crushes distractions. Who has time for Netflix when you have a huge vision? And it simplifies decisions. Does this opportunity move me closer to my 10x vision or not? Martell breaks down creating a 10x vision into 2 phases. Phase 1, dream without limits. Just let yourself go. Focus only on the what, forget the how for now. Phase 2, create clear vision. Now you have the details. Specific dates, numbers, people, places, events. He says when you can describe your future with the same level of detail as your present, you'll have a compelling vision. Hey, think of Joseph Schooling, the swimmer who visualized beating Michael Phelps down to the details. Martell even provides his own detailed 10x vision PDF as an example. He also outlines 4 key elements of an entrepreneur's dream. Your ideal team, like Steve Jobs' top 100, focusing on one business until it's mature, building an empire, like Brian Scudamore's O2E brands, 1-800-GOT-D-JUNK and others, and designing your ideal lifestyle. Wildest dreams, maybe those 4 homes in different seasons he mentions. So what is your wildest dream? For your business, for your life. What does that 10x vision look like if you paint it with vivid detail?
And then, the crucial step, making that big dream actionable. You connect your perfect week planning to your preloaded year. It's a proactive plan for the entire year. Stephen Covey's big rocks analogy is perfect here. Your most important priorities, family, health, friends, key checkpoints for your 10x vision that go into your calendar first before anything else fills it up. You break down that huge 10x vision into smaller steps. Create checkpoints, maybe 10-year, 5-year, 3-year, 1-year goals. Then list the specific tactics needed to hit that next checkpoint, say the 1-year goal. Martell even suggests using ICEE scoring for these tactics. Rate each one on impact, potential money results, confidence, how likely is success, and ease, how difficult is it, helps you prioritize.
Right. So the process of preloading your year is put those big rocks in the calendar first. Vacations, key project milestones, strategic planning days. Then add in maintenance, proactive self-care, exercise, date nights, things to prevent burnout. And then you batch the pebbles, the smaller related tasks, filling in the gaps around your big rocks. Finally, you stress test it. Look at the whole year laid out. Are there conflicts? Does it feel exciting and achievable or just overwhelming? Adjust as needed. The power of the preloaded year is that it ensures your most important life and business priorities are locked in. You're designing the life you want and living it today, not just waiting for some future retirement that might never come.
And that really brings us to the ultimate goal, the buyback life. It's not about stopping work or retiring in the traditional sense. It's about continually buying back your time so you can fill it with things that energize you, things you love, while your business thrives. Enjoying your life now. Martell shares his own buyback life. Training for Ironman, volunteering, having dinner with his family every single night, reading in his hot tub. Sounds pretty good. He also talks about the exponential ripple effect. When you buy back your time by hiring someone, you're giving them a paycheck, enabling them to potentially buy back their time too. He puts it bluntly. If you can afford to pay someone for tasks you hate doing, you're actually robbing them of a paycheck if you keep doing it yourself. He even uses a 7 pillars of life cheat sheet, rating himself weekly on health, hobbies, spirituality, friends, love, finances. Mission to ensure he's living a balanced, holistic life.
It's a powerful reframe. And to really internalize this potential, he suggests a visualization exercise. Imagine seeing your 10x vision playing out on a movie theater screen. Then step into the screen. Feel it, see it, hear it, taste it, experience it with all your senses. And when those inevitable negative thoughts pop up, that's impossible. I can't do that. You simply acknowledge them and repeat. Thank you, not necessary. It really comes back to that core belief, maybe best captured by Marianne Williamson. Your playing small does not serve the world. The buyback principle is ultimately a tool to stop playing small. To enable you to be who you truly can be, leverage your unique genius and have a bigger positive impact on your business, your employees, your community, your life.
Wow. Okay, so we have covered a lot today. But the core message, I think, is incredibly clear. It's not about grinding harder. It's really about thinking differently, acting differently. We looked at the buyback loop, the DRIP matrix for understanding your tasks, those sneaky time assassins, and the structured replacement ladder to gain freedom. We talked about practical tools like cloning yourself with an admin, building playbooks, designing your perfect week, and those 4 key operational hacks. And we finished with bigger ideas: transformational leadership, the power of feedback, dreaming big with a 10x vision, and actually living it now with a preloaded year.
So listening to all this, what really stands out to you? What's the one thing that resonated most? Maybe here's a final thought to chew on. What if the biggest barrier to your next level of freedom isn't actually what you do, but what you refuse to let go of?
Something to think about for sure. We really encourage you, just pick one insight, one strategy from today, and think about how you could implement it. Maybe starting this week. Take that first step on your own journey to the buyback life.